guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be trying some other vintage recipes, this time all about Jello. So if you guys remember, a while back I did a video where I tried a couple of recipes from a 1930s cookbook, and ever since I bought that first cookbook I became more and more intrigued about what kind of food and recipes were made in the past. So since then I've gotten some other cookbooks, some of them from the 40s, 50s, and this one I thought was particularly interesting because every single recipe is with Jello, and they have anything from like Jello cakes to creamy pineapple salads to literally putting entire salads inside of a mold of Jello. So I thought this cookbook would be really interesting to just try a few recipes from it. Unfortunately, I don't really know what year this cookbook is from, just because it doesn't really have a date anywhere. I'm pretty sure that it's from the 60s or 70s, just based on the introduction, because they say something like Jello gelatin first grandly shimmered its way into American dining rooms in 1897. Just how many brands in your kitchen go back over 70 years? Therefore, at least 70 years after that. I did have a bit of a hard time picking which recipes I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna start with one called layered cheese and apples. This recipe calls for a package of lemon or orange Jello, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of sugar, which is optional, 1 cup of boiling water, 3/4 of a cup of cold water, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 cup of diced red apples, 1 package of cream cheese, and half a cup of chopped walnuts. And as with last time, I will be making all of these recipes just for one person, me, so I'm probably going to scale back on the amounts of every ingredient to make a much smaller amount. First step is to dissolve the Jello, salt, and sugar in boiling water. And I also have to say that, unfortunately, at least in Portugal, I don't know about other countries, we definitely don't have nearly as big of a variety of flavors of Jello, so for basically all of these recipes I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to use the right flavor of Jello. I literally just have a package that tastes like strawberry, one that tastes like pineapple, and one that tastes like blueberry, and because I'm vegetarian all of these are of vegetable origin, but they're still Jello, so I think it should work just fine. Lemon Jello is actually sold in Portugal, but I don't think I've seen like a vegetable version of it yet. Orange gelatin just doesn't exist in this country, so yeah. I think the closest in terms of flavor to lemon or orange out of these three would be the pineapple, so that's what I'm gonna go with for this recipe. So I've got the pot of boiling water and I just added the salt and gelatin. I don't think I'm going to add the sugar because I just don't think it's necessary, and it does say it's optional. So the next step is to add cold water and lemon juice. The recipe calls for a tablespoon of lemon juice, so I'm going to add about half since I'm trying to make about half the amount of the recipe. I mean, it's pretty good. It tastes kind of like warm pineapple juice for now, and I actually feel like the salt made it a little bit better because it's less just sweet and sour. It's like sweet, sour, and a little bit salty. This is, in my opinion, where it gets a little bit tricky, because this recipe asks for you to chill the Jello until very thick, but it doesn't say firm necessarily. And then you're supposed to fold the apples into 1 cup of gelatin, pour it into a pan, and chill until set but not firm still. And then whip remaining gelatin until fluffy, which I've never done before, so I really don't know how that's gonna go.
Much later.
I think this is what they meant, maybe. The Jello's like very chunky and thick, kind of. I hope this is the texture that they mean in the recipe, because I think just saying chill until very thick and then you know, later on in the recipe, chill until set but not firm, and then finally set until firm is a little bit confusing. I definitely am not crazy about the fact that they don't have any estimates in terms of how long it should be in the fridge to get to like the right textures. So I can only hope that this is about right. I don't really know. Now fold apples into a cup of gelatin. So now I've got slightly salty pineapple Jello with cut up apple. Okay, so now I'm supposed to chill this until set but not firm, which again seems a bit contradictory to me. This is the weirdest part of the recipe in my opinion, which is whip remaining gelatin until fluffy, and I really don't know how to do that. I've never done it. I've never heard of someone doing it.
Much later.
The Jello is now pretty thick, I guess. I hope this is what they mean by the texture. Finally. So I think my fears have been confirmed, and I really don't think that this worked at all. The Jello was a little bit lumpier before, you know, I guess it's smoother, kind of, but it didn't really get fluffy or increase much in volume, and I don't know if it's because the texture is too thick or too loose, or if it's because I'm using vegetarian Jello instead of regular Jello, so all of these could be the reason why. I actually do see bubbles of air, which I have no idea if you can see that on camera, but there are a couple of bubbles here and there, but it's really not, at least I wouldn't call it fluffy. Maybe I'm doing this right and I don't know. I have no idea what this is supposed to look like, because even though this cookbook, unlike the one from the 30s, does have some pictures, it doesn't have pictures for every single recipe, and it definitely doesn't have any pictures for any of the steps. It's just, this is what the final product could look like if you use the right molds and decoration. Anyway, I'm gonna move on and just use this. Soften cheese, blend in a small amount of whipped gelatin, and fold into remaining whipped gelatin. Then fold in nuts. So there's 43 grams of cream cheese. This is where the 1/4 cup of walnuts comes in. This really looks a lot fluffier than I expected. I didn't think it would work as well as apparently it did. Chill until firm, cut in slices or squares. I think I'm just going to put this mixture on top of what I did before with the apples. I think you can see it a little bit better in the cup. The texture of the top part is actually fairly fluffy somehow, but now I'm just gonna put this in the fridge for quite a few hours until I'm sure that it's set enough. So on to the second recipe, which is avocado strawberry ring. This one calls for 1 package of lemon or lime gelatin, which I don't have. So again, out of the 3 packages that I do have, I think pineapple is the closest. It also calls for, again, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a cup of boiling water, 3/4 cup of cold water, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 avocado, 3 tablespoons of mayonnaise, and 1 pint of fresh strawberries. This one is definitely a lot more adventurous than the first one. The initial steps for this recipe are very similar to the first one. Dissolve Jello in salt and boiling water, add cold water, chill until slightly thickened. So I did literally exactly the same that I did earlier. So the next step of this recipe is to stir the lemon juice into mashed avocado. Again, I'm trying to half the recipe, so I'm going to be using half an avocado. Here is the mashed avocado. Blend into gelatin with mayonnaise. Okay. Okay, so here I've got the gelatin with the chunks of avocado with lemon juice. Now I'm going to get 1.5 tablespoons of mayonnaise. At least it's not a lot, but even so, I'm a little bit scared. I actually really like mayonnaise, but not with desserts. The recipe calls for 3 tablespoons, so 1.5 it is. Still just smells like pineapple jello, but it looks a lot worse than it did before. This recipe is almost done. I'm just gonna put this into the mold, put it in the fridge, and come back to it in a good while, but it does smell a little bit weird. I can definitely smell the mayonnaise, and it doesn't really smell like pineapple anymore. It's mostly the smell of mayonnaise that's coming from this right now, so yeah.
Much later.
It looks pretty neon green, I would say. I'm just going to try to unmold it, and hopefully that goes well. I don't really feel anything. Okay, I think it finally fell. Hopefully I didn't totally wreck the look of it. I blew this bit. No. Look, can I... Yeah, not the prettiest. Still smells like mayonnaise. Never mind the look of it. The next step in this recipe, which is almost done as you guys can see, is fill center with berries, and yeah, that's it. Please don't get more wrecked. Please don't get more wrecked. Okay. Okay, that wasn't so bad. I mean, it's not much worse than before. Okay, so that's the recipe, that's it. I'm not really a master decorator, and the shape is definitely messed up because I wasn't quite as careful as I should have been when unmolding it, but it actually doesn't look too different from the picture here. Okay, so I think I'm just going to make one more recipe because even though there are about 10 different ones in the cookbook I'd like to try, this video has already taken me a good 3 hours to do ever since I started, and I'm nowhere near done just because obviously since it's very based on Jello, there's a lot of waiting around. So I'm gonna be making a banana peanut salad. I just find it so curious the amount of things that passes as a salad when there's not a single vegetable in sight. Anyway, this recipe calls for lime, orange, or strawberry banana gelatin, boiling water and cold water, 1 banana, 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, and 2 tablespoons of chopped salted peanuts. Strawberry banana gelatin, again, isn't really a flavor that exists in Portugal, but thankfully I do have strawberry gelatin, so that's what I'm going to be using. So again, the first step is to dissolve the gelatin in boiling water and then add the cold water, so I'm going to do that again, but with the strawberry one. So I've got here my bowl of Jello. Chill until very thick. More waiting. Chill until set but not firm. Meanwhile, blend mayonnaise into remaining gelatin. Okay, this is gonna be gross. I'm gonna taste it and bleh. Okay, so apparently I need to blend this together and then add the peanuts and put it on top of the other Jello. So I just blended it. It doesn't look that bad, but again, it's the mayonnaise smell and flavor, not really the appearance that I think, just like the avocado, is going to be kind of gross. We'll see. Okay, so this is basically the finished product for this recipe, except I haven't added the peanuts. I actually forgot to add them after blending the Jello with mayonnaise, but I'm just gonna sort of sprinkle them on top, and I think that should be fine. Now I'm just going to put this in the fridge and wait until this is set enough. So again, like with flipping the avocado mess, wish me luck. You can do it. Just surprisingly enough, the fluffy part firmed up somewhat nicely, and then the bottom part with the cut up apples, as you guys can see, is just kind of a sauce around. I probably added a little bit too much water. This recipe, I'm pretty sure, should be fairly inoffensive. It is pretty good. It tastes very similar to what it sounds like. I think the walnuts themselves, the ones that I use, might be slightly salted or something because it kind of feels like the walnuts don't really go here. But all in all, not bad. I just wish that the walnuts were a little bit sweeter because it almost feels like I'm taking a bite out of the dessert and then just putting in my mouth randomly like a piece or two of salty walnuts. But yeah, it's not bad at all. I would give this recipe a 6 out of 10. It's fine. It's nothing special. This is the part where I'm starting to get nervous because I can smell the mayonnaise. If I didn't know there was mayonnaise in here, I would still guess that it's mayonnaise. So I'm kind of dreading taking the first bite. I just don't see Jello and mayonnaise going well together. It smells like mayonnaise so much. Nope. It gets worse. Ugh. And just I am someone who cooks quite a lot, but this is the most disgusting tasting thing I've ever made in my life. There's no way I can eat this. There's no way I would feed this to anyone else. It is putrid. It's so bad, so bad. Who thought that this was a good idea? And I know I did use pineapple gelatin instead of lemon or lime gelatin, but even so, I don't see this being any better because you can't really taste the pineapple. You can taste a little bit of avocado, a lot of mayonnaise, and just this weird sweet and salty and acidic thing. But it's so heavy on the acidic that it makes it inedible to me. I'm very happy that there are strawberries in the middle just because they're a very good palate cleanser for this thing, but I wouldn't feed this to my worst enemy. It's a 0 out of 10. I can't give it a 1. I can't even give it a 0.5. It's horrible, disgusting, inedible. I can't imagine anyone actually eating this and liking it. It's so bad. I'm just gonna eat the strawberries and then literally toss this out. Okay, so for the most part, it does seem to come off the mold quite easily, so I think it's kind of set, and honestly, I've just been filming for so long, I just wanna finally try everything and get it done because I've been in the kitchen for 5 hours. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna mess up the shape, but I really wanna try to put at least one of these on a plate. I'm gonna get like a bit of everything, so a bit of banana, a bit of the 2 kinds of Jello, and a peanut or 2. I'm scared. It's edible. I wouldn't say it's that good. I'd give it maybe a 3 out of 10. Thankfully, the mayonnaise flavor and smell is a lot weaker in this recipe, and I'm actually really happy that the bananas are here because the flavor of the bananas kind of distract you away a little bit from focusing on the Jello flavor. I don't hate it nearly as much as the avocado ring thing. The avocado ring, I would not recommend to anyone. Please don't put avocado and mayonnaise and Jello together. It's quite disgusting. If you guys are interested, I could do more of these sometime, but for now, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.